watching someone get promoted is the most rewarding thing for me. It's more rewarding than, winning a new client or executing on a strong PR campaign. It's one of those things where, I like to see people grow and I like to see them develop and I want them to. And that actually is also more lasting. It's more lasting of an impact than just hitting a target or winning a new client.
Welcome back to Bubbling Out, where we are popping the norms on leadership. And we're just really presenting fun, relatable, playful, innovative and resilient ways to lead. Now, I'm your host, Emily Rose Delara, and today we have got guest Samantha Yap on the show. Samantha is a name that I have seen for many years now, having worked in the Web3 and emerging tech space, and she is founder and CEO of YAP Global, an incredible PR company who are very much built on amazing teams, excellence, high values, putting value out into the world, supporting the communities, supporting the industry. It's really an incredible company that she's built. And I wanted to really understand, what was that process like? How did she learn how to hire people? What kind of questions does she ask people when she's trying to find if they're a culture fit? We talked about all that kind of stuff. And she recently became a mom. And we really get into how she's managed to balance that. How was she able to really step away from the business and just be a mom for a few months and know that everything was going to be okay? Because I don't know about you, but I feel like I would really struggle to do that. And for all of you moms listening, it's really eye-opening to understand that it's not that hard. It's difficult if you haven't got the processes and structure in place. So she shares all that with you. It's really, really inspiring stuff. And we also talk on how faith and spirituality has really helped guide her and keep her grounded and helped to remind her what's important in her life. I think you're going to really love this chat. It's a really easy chat. She gets into all the nooks and crannies of her role and her business, and I think you're going to get so much value. So welcome. Let's step into the bubble. Hi, Sam. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. We were just chatting about ECC and how much it was, how much work it was. How are you feeling afterwards?
Yeah, so it was a lot of work because we were the official PR partners, so we were managing a team, but we've done for 5 consecutive years. But the difference this year was I brought my baby. And so that was a challenging variable, but I've come out on the other end of it and survived, thanks in part to ECC having a baby nursery. So that helped. Also that I worked with my partner and we were able to tag team with the baby. So happy that we survived it.
That's brilliant. I had no idea they had childcare. That's awesome. Is that normal for most events?
No, I think it was their first year that they invested in having a nursery. I don't think many people know about it, but now we're talking about it. And I think next year I'm going to advocate for them to expand it. I also know that in the space ETH Denver, which happens in Denver, Colorado at the start of each year, February this year, they also put money into having a daycare at a conference. And I think it's great. I think we should normalize bringing children to work conferences because it could be like a family trip.
Yeah, that's true, because it really is. It's really tiring in general, isn't it? To be at an event and to be on all the time. And then to have a baby, to have to think about their needs as well. It's like a lot of stuff to do on your own.
Yes, so I am breastfeeding and I had to feed her 6 times a day. So I had to feed her in between meetings. So I had to time it for when I could go and meet clients and journalists and do business development, and then have to check the time and be like, okay, I gotta be back by 1:30 to do her next feed. So it's a lot of organization and coordination, all things that you can schedule and be on top of.
That is like ninja moves. That takes so much brain space. How did you even start to think about this kind of planning? Because I'm sure lots of listeners who have got babies are like, how did she do this?
Yeah. So the first thing is, well, with babies, we feed our baby on a schedule because there is this method called Baby Wise. Thanks to that book, we were able to have our baby on a routine because we thrive on routine and we need routine. And especially if you're running a business or even just working, you need routine as well. So we had our baby on this routine, and then it's just a matter of planning around it. So we did a lot of planning and a lot of thinking actually before ECC. I'm lucky and fortunate that I have an EA, executive assistant, and we even just scheduled in my calendar when I needed to feed the baby so that I had it all lined up and then I could like work around it. So yeah, it's a lot of planning, but you can make it happen with strong organization skills.
That is incredible. Like, I have not heard of this. I mean, but maybe because I don't have a baby, but I love being exposed to this and seeing how women manage to do all this stuff, because it doesn't have to be either or, it can just be and. And
Yes.
that's what you're really embodying here, I think.
Yes, and I do think there is importance in spending time with your baby, and you should, women and mothers should give their baby and themselves the time that they need to look after their babies. But you could just continue, like, life will continue anyway, and it doesn't have to get in the way or anything. It actually adds on to it.
Amazing. So, what makes you bubble with joy and purpose when it comes to your work life?
So I enjoy growing a team and building leaders. And so that actually makes me bubble with joy and purpose. It is challenging though. It is hard work managing people with different personalities, people with different wants and needs, but it does bring me joy when I get to see people thrive and grow in their professional careers, but also their personal lives as well. So I run a PR agency in the Web3 space, and I strongly believe that what we're doing is we're building the Web3 communicators of the future. So we're building a generation of Web3 PR and comms professionals. And I have seen people who've left my company go on to be heads of comms of key crypto projects, as well as, stay in the industry. So that is rewarding for me to see. We're not just focusing on, my own company's business, goals and targets. We're seeing a generation of communicators kind of spread into the Web3 space.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I love it because it's like you're starting with your impact and it's rippling out into the industry, and you're able to then help those other people ripple out even further and further and further. And that really aligns with why I am so obsessed with what I do. So I very much resonate with this. It's being able to just have this small impact, however long that period of time will be, and to be able to just like, I've done this, I've been able to like catalyst change.
Yes, exactly.
It's fab. I love it. So it's really interesting because so many people that I speak to, founders especially, actually are scared of the mentorship. What do you feel like helped you to start to enjoy it? Because at first it's really difficult.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to ensure that what you pour into someone is not for you to keep per se. So for example, like, when I invest in team members and I train them up, and the hope is that they'll stay in the company, but they would go on and want other opportunities or want to move on. And so I think that's the most important thing, that when you're impacting someone's life, it's not just for you. It's not your own. It's for them, and it's also for the industry around them. So I think it's that mindset shift that helps me, but also it's just enjoying watching someone develop and grow, and seeing someone who, didn't have a certain skill now be able to thrive and grow in their role. So yeah, that's what excites me. And it's just, again, it's about watching someone get promoted is the most rewarding thing for me. It's more rewarding than, winning a new client or executing on a strong PR campaign. It's one of those things where, yeah, I like to see people grow, and I like to see them develop, and I want them to. And that actually is also more lasting. It's more lasting of an impact than just hitting a target or winning a new client. Because I always say to my team, clients can come and go, but the team is there for the long term.
That's so beautiful. And honestly, this is so, I wouldn't say it's a rare perspective, but it's just, I don't hear this enough. And it's just so lovely to hear. And I hope that everybody listening to this can be like, okay, like we have amazing women building businesses who want to build their teams. It's not just all about the money, especially in our industry. How do you mentor and support these people? Like what has worked for you?
Yeah, the most important thing is to consider what they want. Because it's easy to run a company and be like focus on our own business targets and our own business objectives. But at the end of the day, people will only be motivated if they also get something out of it too. So it's finding out what they want out of their role, what they want to achieve, and giving them the opportunity to do so, because there's no point forcing someone to do something that they don't like. With that being said, of course, a job is a job. Sometimes you have to do stuff that, isn't fun. And sometimes you have to put in the long hours to commit to something. But long-term wise, you want to be able to like leverage, I guess, on what people are motivated by. The other thing that we focus on in our team is, embodying and facilitating strong team values. I'll share two, but one of our values that I like is that we always strive for excellence. So we always want to level up, and we want everyone to be a better version of themselves than the day before, or even with, say, the work that they execute. So there's a saying in journalism, when I used to work as a journalist, is you're only as good as your last story. So same in PR, same in comms, you're only as good as your last PR campaign or your last client call, for example. So you're always striving to be excellent. And then the other value is to always add value. So to always bring something to the table and never be complacent with what you're working on or what you can bring. Always find ways to add value to the work that you're doing. So these are two values that I see has worked with our team, but also with that being said, ensuring that we remain sustainable in our approach. So yeah, we work in the crypto industry, and it's very common for people to work crazy hours, even on weekends, but we also place an emphasis on making sure people take their breaks, they log off on time, and then they have their weekends, because if we really want to stay here for the long term, we need to be sustainable and also live sustainable lives. So yeah, trying to really encourage this work-life balance is also important to us.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm just going to unpack that. So the first part that you were speaking about was very much focused on how do you get people to do what you need them to do, but not force it, not expect them to do things that you want them to do just because it kind of fits with your agenda. Enable them, motivate them. In my experience in the past, and the way I've done it in a terrible way, is expect the things that I need from the wrong person. And that all comes back down to hiring. And how do you feel like in your hiring process, for example, how do you know that this person will fit with what you really need? How do you assess their strengths and skills well?
Yeah, so I run a team of currently, as we speak, 25 people. And so beyond just me, I have to see that we need to work with the team. So it's actually about building a system, like a vetting system of when we hire people. So we do have a process where whenever we hire someone new, they will speak to at least 3 of us so that we have a good cultural vibe check, basically, and whether that person's a good cultural fit. Because sometimes we see candidates that may be strong in the work that they do, but they don't have that cultural fit. And so we make sure we filter that out. So I think the focus is on building a system and a vetting system and finding the right person. But yes, what I mentioned before, culture is a big piece of that, because you can always train someone to level up on their skills and train someone on more practical things, but it's harder to change culture. And it's also harder to change someone's attitude. So we also look at behaviors of people. And in our team, we want to attract people who are ambitious and who like taking ownership and are passionate about what they do, and also are accepting of people. So we look at all those things. Just to summarize what I said, you can train someone to improve on their skills, but it's harder to change someone's attitude and behaviors. And we look out for that more in our interview process.
Interesting. Now, you might not have the answer for this right now. Hopefully you do. But what kind of questions, just off the top of your head, if you can, would you use to identify someone who won't be a good fit?
the question that I often ask is where you see yourself in 5 years. And it's one of those big picture thinking questions that I love asking everyone because it just helps me know where they want to head. And whenever someone responds with, oh, I'm not sure, then I assume that maybe they're not as ambitious. Maybe they don't really have that long-term plan. But for those who answer with like, in 5 years, I know I want to achieve this and I want to do that, then that says to me that they are really driven and ambitious and are set in the direction that they want to head in. And I would rather work with people who have that direction and that purpose and are going somewhere, because then we can always align our paths. But for the people who don't know where they're going and are unsure, then yeah, I would say perhaps it's not the right fit for our team. So I like people who are sure of where they're heading and know what they want.
That's a brilliant question. And I think many people, especially if they're not going through a hiring process, even if they're founders, whoever they are, many people don't stop to think about, where do I want to be in 5 years' time, right?
Yeah.
It's a big question for a lot of people. And we're so caught up in our everyday lives that sometimes we just forget that we have a future ahead of us. Yeah. I mean, it's good. I like the whole being present and mindful, but we also do need to plan ahead, and being able to articulate that really well is huge.
Yeah. And also I'm a big believer in setting goals, because goals, even if you don't hit them, they get you further along than if you didn't set them at all. So the 5-year plan could, you could share something personal or professional. So, for people who maybe want to start a family or think about children in the future, like, it's okay to share that in 5 years. If you don't have kids and you want to have kids, or if you want to have X number of children, like, that all comes into your plan, and it shows that you have a direction. Of course, things don't go to plan, but it's good to have an idea of where you want to go. That's what I would say.
And I think by asking that as well, you're showing them that you care about their progression, which is so important for so many people. And my past experience in my career life was that I kind of airdropped into a lot of things. And so the career progression was on me. I'd never felt like I had the support from the employer. And so YAP sounds like an amazing place to work, Sam.
Thanks. Well, we try. Yeah, always trying, because it's about, again, we also have to think about the purpose of the company too, because if the company's purpose was just to develop on its own and get the profits and just think about itself, then we wouldn't also survive and we wouldn't stand where we are today. It has to have meaning and a purpose beyond itself. And I think that's what I, figured out early on, because yeah, when it gets to the point where, say, I am not able to contribute to YAP Global, hopefully it will grow beyond me.
Yeah. And going back to your values, striving for excellence, and what was the other one?
Striving for excellence, adding value.
Adding value, that was it. I'm curious, where were those values instilled for you? Who did you learn these values from?
So I was going to share this at the end on, how do you prioritize yourself? But for me, it's my faith. So my faith in God, I guess, yeah, that's how those values are instilled in me, because it is about growing what you have. And it's always about, bringing something to the table, bringing value everywhere you go. So that's where it comes from.
Lovely. And was that something that you grew up with? Did you have any influential people in your life who helped you to carry that value?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I grew up with. I had leaders in my life, not just, at work, but, at church. And so I had pastors and people that I look up to. And it's beyond just a professional career. I really admire how they live their lives and how they build their families. And so that does leave an impact on me, and I'm very blessed that I have people around me that I can look up to and learn from. But at the same time, I also hope that I'm also contributing and helping other people and inspiring other people to live their fulfilling lives too.
It's lovely. It's very much a community-based approach, supporting others. And I like to believe that the more we put out, the more we get back, but in an easier way. It doesn't have to be hard.
No.
We don't have to give out in a hard way. We don't have to feel anxious. We don't have to feel like everything is difficult. If we just give out in the most aligned way possible, it'll just come back to us in the most aligned way possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's about seeing that your life is not your own. Because I think once you think that what you're giving away, you need something back, it can be quite stifling. And, so if you think that your life is not your own and you're really giving, you will be surprised how much you'll really receive as well.
Exactly. It's like Thich Nhat Hanh. he said that separateness is an illusion. We're all connected. Everything we do has an impact on everything. And so I think that really is reflected in what you're doing. Love it. So I'm going to zoom out for a minute because we always go off on tangents on this podcast. But I promise we will stick to the allotted time. I really wanted to know, what has been the most transformative moment in YAP Global? Your journey?
Being a mother. So from being a CEO to being a mom has really challenged me to let go. So I think a founder's challenge is to let go. Yeah, not be so in the weeds and in the details. And so when I had a baby, it really forced me to let go because I had no choice but to let go. Because usually when I didn't have a baby, I would go on a holiday, but I could always log on. I could always check my messages or check my emails. But, with a baby, your hands are so tied and so full in the first few months that you're forced to really log off. And I was very surprised because I let go, I trust my team, and they ended up growing really well. Like, I think there was minimal hiccups. Of course there would be challenges here and there, but like my team went on to hire people without me and win business without me. And I couldn't ask for anything more. It was surprising to see, but on the other hand, not surprising because I have a great team.
Wow. That's incredible to be able to be like, okay, I'm out. I cannot be online right now. I cannot be working right now. And to just know that your team have got their shit together. Like, you can do this again now.
Well,
amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm so happy. Like, I was so surprised, but I'm like, I have nothing to complain about because they have thrived and I'm seeing people like level up. And I think it's one of those things where when a leader either takes time off or leaves or have to, even go on holiday, it does give room for other people on the team to step up. And they did step it up. So I'm very proud about that. The other thing I would say is, investing in people and investing in your team is worth it. It can be challenging at times. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you invest in people and they just don't work out. But I think building a process and a system allows for things like this to happen. Because I put in the time to build this system, it was able to grow beyond me. But if I had kept everything through me, if I was the bottleneck for a lot of decisions and a lot of the work, then me being on maternity leave would have had a different outcome.
Interesting. Are you a fan of Natalie Ellis from Boss Babe?
No, I don't know her. I mean, not that I'm not a fan, I just don't know her. Natalie Ellis.
She's fab, and she's all about having, like, she went through a similar process. Like, she put everything in place to go on maternity leave, and she was able to, and it was great, and it grew. But like, you would be a perfect like example of this done so well. Like, she would love you.
Nice, I'll have to look.
But it's really knowing that your future, like, she's fab, and it's something that she really advocates for is recording everything in Loom. So every small thing that needs to be outsourced or you need your team to do or your team are doing, you get them to just record a Loom and put it in like a SOP database. Did you have any kind of systems like that in place that helped you to just step away? Yeah,
we love Notion. So we created a Notion central office for everything, because we have a remote team and we have a global team. And for everything that we do and everything that we want to track and everything in the company, we keep on this database. And then in terms of like SOPs and like checklists, we have a lot of them. So, whenever we do an event or whenever we do a PR campaign, everything has a checklist. And so it just basically prevents a lot of errors and also encourages the team to think about the details. So we have a lot of this, and we have what we call a YAP Wiki. We have a Wikipedia page for the company. So it also answers a lot of questions without me or even my managers needing to step in.
It sounds amazing. Like, I love all this kind of stuff, especially the wiki. Like, it's like, if you want to know anything about us, it's all here. Don't worry. Now, the thing that will come up, and you've probably seen this, but I mean, I don't know if this comes up in your team because I feel like you've got it dialed in, but you can provide as many processes as you want, as many checklists as you want, but sometimes people do not follow the process. When that's happening, how do you, especially if it's within your teams and you've got your managers looking after it, how do you support them in making sure that processes are followed?
Yeah, it's not perfect, and you're right. There could be amazing checklists, and not everyone follows it. So how do you make sure? Well, I think that also comes with, a performance review process. So we have that in place every 6 months, and so there are goals that we set with the team, and then there's also performance review period, and that's when we actually, measure performance. And if someone is not delivering or doing tasks to a certain level and standard, they will know. And we have peer review feedback system. I think all of this, most companies have. Maybe, those who are growing teams do. I think that's all ingredients of growing teams, high performing teams. So yeah, a performance review process allows that. We also have a strong line management system where we encourage the managers to also give feedback frequently. I believe in frequent feedback. I think that people shouldn't have surprises, after 3 months and they just realize that they need to improve in an area. I think it's about improving the quality of someone's work and development.
Definitely. And by having frameworks around that, you're allowing your line managers to be able to deliver that information in a compassionate way and a structured way. So it's easier to communicate and it's easier to apply.
Yeah.
Awesome. The reason I ask these questions is because so many people listening are in so many different varying levels of leadership. Maybe they're aspiring to be leaders and this stuff is so valuable for them to know. And this is why I like to really dig into how everybody does it, because everyone does it so differently. Now, we've talked about work stuff, but what I also want to know really is, you've had a baby, you've built your business. How many years has the business been running now?
6 years.
So 6 years. Has it been full on all the time, or have you had any kind of, apart from having a baby, have you had any other kind of time out, or has it just been full on building?
So in the early years, it was full on building, but I do emphasize taking breaks. So I've had holidays. I take, 2 weeks off here and there. We have our Christmas breaks. Again, to build a sustainable business, you also need to have a sustainable life too. So I'm very mindful of burnout. I'm very sensitive towards when I'm about to, when I've hit my limit. So I think it's very healthy to take breaks, and we encourage that in our team as well. As I said, we don't like to drive people to work crazy hours or overnight or weekends because we don't see that produces quality work. I've had breaks, but yeah, I think with, I like to say reputation and trust and credibility takes years to build, but it could take seconds to ruin. So actually every year that we grow, our reputation grows. There's also actually more of a burden and a responsibility to ensure that we're keeping the quality of our work strong. And in doing that, we need breaks and we need to rest as well. I believe in rest.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually went on a retreat in April, I think it was, in the south of France, and it was focused on rest. And there was so many mothers there who have not rested for such a long time. And it was just full permission to rest. And it's so important. And I think it's fantastic that you as the leader are the one setting that example, because it's not always the case, right? And being able to show the boundaries and give an example of what is okay for everybody else is amazing.
Yeah.
So well done. And there's one thing that I wanted to ask, and you mentioned, when you've hit your limits, what happens?
Well, I think I don't like to hit my limit. So I guess when I start feeling like I am hitting my limit, so I'm starting to feel a bit tired and maybe not enjoying my work, that's when I get a little bit irritated or frustrated. I ensure that I take a breather or take a break or do something for me. And I make sure that I don't ever cross that, because once I cross that capacity or overcapacity, then that leads to burnout. So being sensitive towards that.
Yeah, knowing your limits and not just brushing them off like I'm just tired today.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share? Because it's been fabulous. I could speak to you all day about so many things, but I'll try and keep it in this time frame today.
Well, I think you have a question here on like, how do I prioritize you while managing, being mom and also managing like being CEO. And bringing it back to like my faith again, that actually helps keep me grounded. And I do think that's like the secret to how I'm able to do what I do. And yeah, I think I just would want to share that because I do encourage anyone who is open to hearing and wants kind of hope in their lives. It really does change things. And also I believe in there's work and there's your work life, but there's also your life in general, your personal life, and that's more important. And so being a mom as well, I do stress that having a family, it really gives you meaning and even more purpose because it challenges you. Now that I'm a mother, I'm more challenged to do what I do. Now, I'm not saying everyone should have children. If they don't want children, they don't have to have children, but I just do encourage it because it's actually a beautiful journey. But yes, it's a lot of work too. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think on the faith topic, it's very interesting. So I'm very spiritual. I don't have a religion, but I am hugely spiritual. I use all my clairs. I do lots of channeled poetry and channeled art and stuff. But it's the acknowledging that we are just living in the 3D right now, but there is a 5D. There's like something much bigger than us. And we are capable of tapping into that anytime we want. We just have to be open to it. And I hope that the more we talk about this kind of stuff, the more people will start to think about it. And that's it. You can't ever pressure anyone into anything or any beliefs, but it's more just like, this is possible for me, so it's possible for you too.
Yes, and it's only out of love and out of the hope that other people can, live and thrive in their lives too. Because, what's the point if we don't have that?
Exactly. I just like to believe that we've lived like 50 million different lives and there's many different versions of us somewhere in the quantum field.
Yeah. But this has been great. Thank you for having me.
I love that. I love all this stuff. You too. Thank you so much. And I'll invite you on to talk about different things too.
Yes, I would love that.
Yay. Thank you so much, Sam.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all for today on Bubbling Out. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Your reviews and subscriptions help more people, more leaders, more entrepreneurs like you access the Bubbling Out podcast. Also, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, go and follow me, Emily Rose Delara Coach, for behind the scenes dog vids, somatics exercises, and me DJing sometimes. See you next time in the bubble.